always love that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching us, and however you're watching us, either on YouTube or on my Twitter/X account. Thank you for joining me on the Sports and the World podcast. I'm Ladarius. We're going to be covering plenty of stuff here. We're going to talk about March Madness right around the corner, the men's and women's, the NBA, and I did a little kind of a little chart thing for that as well. Brown's big picture. Talk about the importance of civility, things like that. I won't bore you with the details now. But we're going to get started here with a little NFL free agency talk and decided to bring on somebody you're all familiar with. I do a morning show with him, I do a wrestling show with him. So naturally, he's doing this for free. He doesn't know it yet. But it's my
It's all
buddy. I thought you would get up and walk. I was like, you know what? I didn't agree to this. I didn't agree to it. Where's my check? Yeah.
I was told.
I was told a check was supposed to be coming. Oh, run, run! It's it's my buddy C Double. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm here, man. Just I did a workout, listened to some sports talk, and just ready to talk some sports with you, man. I know you. You know, I love when you get to do your show because it's like it's role reversal for us, so I get to be the co-host.
Yeah,
And
it's like, oh, he said he's a co-host. Oh man, I should.
or
Ugh,
I like to always look at you as like the co-captain of this whole thing.
man,
Because if I go down, I know you know how to take care of the ship.
uh,
So
man, who's gonna tell him I'm in charge of the whole thing? I'm not gonna tell him yet.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, we're
exactly.
live. Oh, whoops. Oh no. Yeah. So I decided we'll jump into a little bit of a NFL free agency. We kind of talk about it on our morning show, but you know, I want to delve into. Yeah, listen, some teams, big winners, look at the Bears, improving their interior offensive line,
Yeah.
helping out, and Ben Johnson, and helping out Caleb Williams there. New England's making some signings. We're seeing teams making impacts little by little. Even sometimes even the re-signing of Miles Garrett's a big deal, took him off the market. But so I'm just kind of curious to get your thoughts on free agency thus far, and more specifically which teams stick out to you, and which teams do you feel that need more work to do to improve their roster this offseason?
Well, let's look at the divisions that have been holding it down. The AFC North. They had three teams come out to the playoffs. So then you have to look at the fact that look at what the Bears did. Now the Vikings are going to be a team that hasn't really been able to recover too well yet. Because I'm sorry, when you don't have a quarterback, that's going to be something that's got to be asked about. And we don't know what JJ McCarthy is after injury. You got to see what he can be. Um, but then you look at what the Bears are doing. The Bears, you know, are working on their trenches. They're getting guys for that offensive line to protect. Look, if you got a number one draft pick, you got to protect your offense. You got to have the offensive line protected. That's almost like regardless. Yeah, it took one of our guys, but look, when you're in free agency, you can go anywhere you want. Team that I'm really low key looking at is like the Raiders. I want to see how they are pivoting. Kind of in the same situation as the Bears were because Chargers were in the playoffs, Broncos were in the playoffs, and so was the Kansas City. So there are like I think the Geno Smith edition was actually low key, actually very surprising and actually smart. The question is going to be, who's going to, look, you got the Steelers. They get DK Metcalf. Are they really going to go after Aaron Rodgers? I don't think Russ is coming back too. There's the rumors. So um, I don't know, man. And not only that, you got teams like the Bengals. They're willing to do a franchise tag on T. Higgins. You still have Chase, um, you know, Jamar Chase, and you're willing to trade Hendrickson. Which, if it was me, I would have probably tried to trade Higgins to try to get something, and then try to keep if you're going to keep Jamar. But I really wouldn't want to trade my pass rusher if that's all I have on defense. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Um, you know, well, I saw that D. Hopkins actually signed with the Baltimore Ravens, and I went, that could be good, but I thought Hopkins would be better with the Chiefs, and I'm stunned it really didn't work out well. And I almost want to just say, is Hopkins still going to be Hopkins? Because that was the other issue.
Yeah, that's you make a very good point there. I think what I'm looking at, like I think how the receivers are being, going off the board. And go back to Cincinnati, I find it hard to believe that, I feel like Higgins would have drew them more because when you look at the receivers and where they're going specifically, like DK went for a second. Seattle came down from the first round perch and said, okay, cool, we'll give up a second.
Yeah.
And you're seeing, Devontae Adams going to the Rams. You're seeing, something about Mike Williams resigning with the chart. It feels like Higgins would have got you a little bit more, and he could have probably yielded you at least a second rounder, potentially a first, potentially,
Yeah.
potentially. And like the whole Trey Hendrickson thing, we talked about it on our show. Is that would I give him an extension? Yes. I don't think that's the real point at question here. I think the bigger question is like, are you willing to give up a day one pick? And I'm like, I don't think so. Given that how and what I think what kind of hinders the situation is that this is a deep defensive draft. We keep talking about it. So I think that kind of helps / hurts the market in that regard for Trey Hendrickson. Listen, when that's all you have essentially,
Hmm.
I don't know because I think one of the underrated signing to me was them re-signing Mike Gesicki because I had them potentially getting a tight end.
Yeah.
So uh it's going to be interesting. And listen, Gino to I'm not surprised about the Gino move. It's interesting with Seattle. What's the plan? Because they weren't terrible last season. I'm curious. They bring in Sam Darnold, which is I don't I don't know if that'll be an upgrade. I need to see which Sam Darnold shows up. Is like was that a one? Basically, was that the Macarena, or we're going to get another hit out of him? Are we going to get more production out of him now that he's gotten paid? So kind of staying in that in the ballpark here.
Yeah.
Speaking of quarterbacks, when if you're the Giants or the Steelers, if you're a Giants fan or a Steelers fan right now, you're bumping your head against the wall because you gave up you gave up a second round pick for DK Metcalf, and you don't have a quarterback under contract. No, I'll take that back. You brought back Mason Rudolph. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Give
disrespect
it
to
back
the
to
no
Rudolph.
disrespect to the Rudolph family. And then, here we are. We see April and Ron. What up, everyone? What's up, Ron or April?
So,
Um,
Ron, much love.
I I can't get over the fact. Listen, if you're the Giants, you're in a better position to draft a quarterback. So you may not necessarily. I'm not saying they should stop pursuing Aaron or Russ, but if that's the best options you have, look, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame. But here's the thing: I call it the T.O. effect, the Terrell Owens effect, where I say sometimes when your ego supersedes the talent, you become no good to no one.
Uh,
People will tolerate you as long as you're at a certain level, and that's football or whatever job or occupation or industry you work in. Listen, there's people who are not too great on the personality side, but they're so talented you overlook it because they're great. We'll overlook it. But when the talent kind of drops a little bit and that ego still is in the same spot, kind of like is he worth the risk?
yeah.
Like to me, Aaron Rodgers. I'll put it this way, and I'll get your thoughts. My whole thing is this: if you're Pittsburgh, I with all due respect to Mason Rudolph, mm, we saw how he did the back end of last season with the Titans.
Yeah.
If like we that was on tape, everybody saw it, and now we're like, he's not a start. Like, he had his opportunity to be a starter in this league. It's not like he's not it. And you're sitting with the top 20 pick, a top 25 pick, and you're just like, it's the downside of the Steelers to me that they're so good that they can't get a great quarterback, because in order to get a great quarterback, unless you trade up or someone falls, and I don't want to call it the worst mock draft I've ever seen in my life,
Hmm.
but somehow they had Shador Sanders falling to Pittsburgh, and I
Yeah.
thought that was the most comical. Because here's the thing: I understand that, hey, you want to get eyes on it. That's not the way to do it. Like, because here's the thing: worst case should worst case scenario, Shador falls out of the top 5. He falls into the top 10. That's worst case scenario. I think a team will be willing to trade up if necessary, and Pittsburgh could be that team that could be willing to trade up, because listen, they feel they don't want to get burned, because when they draft Kenny Pickett in the first round, I think they have trepidation, so they want to try to, if somehow, some way, Cam or Shador falls, Shador might be the one that falls, but not completely down to number 21. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. So I guess my question is this, and it ties back to our Falcons, and it's like I say, I'm bringing back throwbacks to our morning show to promote the
Oh
morning
yeah.
show. Right? My thing is this: if you're if you're Pittsburgh, should you start calling around? Because a quarterback that we don't talk about being available, but could be available, is Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I think people I tell people, hear me out. We've seen Kyler Murray is not terrible, but given the contract, like in the division they're in, I'm not saying, he's terrible. But what I'm saying is that if you package the right amount of deals, and if you're Pittsburgh, you're in a situation, yeah, you gave up your second, but I think if you're the Giants and Steelers, like, I would make a phone call, obviously to Atlanta, to that one quarterback whose name shall not be mentioned, but
Dismissed.
and we're done, folks. Good night. No. So all in all, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. It feels like a quarterback kerfluffle.
Oh yes. I mean, look. First of all these teams are one thing for sure: quarterback thirsty. You didn't even mention the 49ers. They haven't nailed down Brock Purdy. And are you willing to pay that kind of money for Brock? Because that elbow and everything that he's been through. Look, let's keep it this as a buck as we can. You know, when it comes to Kirk Cousins, people want to act like he's an asset to us. He's not, because what he did has made it where he's not. Okay, now if he still has that no trade clause, he has to waive it. And if all this talk has been about, oh, well, just let me go and I'll go do my own thing, no, they're not going to do that. Maybe you need to humble up and maybe go, look, I'm waiving my no trade. Can we see who wants me? And then go from there. But right now, I don't think they want to work with him. But I had my idea, which was go get you a backup quarterback and make Kurt your third string. Make him practice squad guy. Make him work with the practice squad guys. And look, people will be like, "Oh man, that's ridiculous." Is it? You know, look, I'm just trying to make sure he don't get hurt. I want to make sure he's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. So if he does waive that no trade clause, I can say, "Look, he's healthy. He ain't got a mark on him." Is he healthy to play a full season? I guess so. But then again, look at the teams that are going to be needy. You just named the Steelers. Because look, no matter what you want to say, whack-a-mole Rudolph is not going to be a starter. That boy hasn't been the same since he got the helmet knocked on his head. So, not just that, but, with Tennessee, he had his chance to take the job from Will Levis, and he couldn't. So, when I look at, what Tennessee and Tennessee could fall into this, because if, let's say, they decide to trade or get Cam Ward, what happens to Will Levis? You're not going to want to keep him, are you? So, what Pittsburgh did is you've already got your backup quarterback. The question is, who do they want as a starter? Maybe they're keeping an eye on the Brock Purdy thing. Maybe they're keeping an eye. Me personally, I don't think I want Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I told you, if I could have Aaron come to the facility, I asked him one question: can you go without a season, or can you go without being on the Pat McAfee show? If he says no, well, then I tell him, have a good day, take care of yourself. Well, we'll send a ticket to get you home, because I'm not going to try to push him to be on my team. Not with that, man. I'm also got to look out for Mike Tomlin. The man's already got DK Metcalf. He's got Pickens. Well, oh boy, poor Pat Freiermuth is going to be afraid to try to catch the ball now. And they don't even have their running back now. Najee signed with the Chargers, which I actually think it's going to be better for Najee, because he's going to a guy that's all about running the football. That's the base of a Jim Harbaugh's offense, is run the football. So when you look at Kirk Cousins as an option, it's one of those. Kirk's got to waive that no trade clause if he really wants to be out of here. And I don't look, if I'm the Falcons, if you're holding on to him as a legit backup and see what happens, hey, you know what? Good on you. I know it's going to cost $10 million. I know people are going to lose their minds. Personally, I do the same. I would make it where he folds. I'm not folding. Another guy I'm thinking about, you got Joe Flacco out there. Just for him being out there, he could be reliable for a bit. 2-time comeback player of the year. I mean, he's a good player. You compare him up with a rookie. And look, Shedeur Sanders, you may have your thoughts on Shedeur. I have mine. I don't think he's going down to 20. Whoever did that mock draft, you need Jesus. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't understand how you could legitimately, or as Ladarius say, on God's green earth, and tell us that everything's holy with the straightest of all straight face. How drop all the teams that are quarterback needy also at that.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I mean, yeah.
It's so, it was comical. I'm like, this man's not serious. But to your point, I want to mention something that you said. Not only is Najee Harris a vital piece of that Chargers offense, he's a versatile guy.
Yeah.
And he helps the Chargers immediately. And going back to your point with Pittsburgh, here's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. To your point, the whole McAfee thing, as long as he's willing, as long as he's getting paid for it, he's not going to say no. And he's not. And he does it because he wants a platform, and Pat gives him that platform. It's basically, he's the one guy who, we see most players have their own podcast. Well, he uses Pat McAfee's show as his personal podcast.
Yeah.
And he's not willing to, even though the guy is rich beyond belief, the Jets, he fleeced the Jets. He's got money. The question is, can Aaron Rodgers, can we get a glimpse of MVP Aaron Rodgers? That's going to be the question for the quarterback room. Because personally, like I say, I think you're onto something with Brock Purdy, but I harken back to Kyler Murray. I heard his name kind of spread around here and there, simply because it feels like the Cardinals are in rebuild mode, and given the money that Kyler has, I think a team looks at him and goes, what do you want? Like, I think if it gets to that situation, I'm not saying he gets traded this offseason, but I think between now and the next offseason, depending how the Cardinals play this coming up season, I will.
How many years is on Kyler's deal? How many years left?
Kyler has, I could pull that up really quickly
Because
because I think I know he signed it was a 4-year. Let me see.
I thought
Kyler
it was
signed
5 years, I
a
thought, but it could be.
because it's a great question because I'm like, why would they bring him up? And so looking at Kyler Murray's contract now as it loads up live here, that's how quick we are here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. He's for this upcoming season. So he has 3 seasons left, and there could be a potential out in 2027. But entering this season, the cap hit's going to be around 43, a little over 43 million, and 58 million in dead cap. So basically, there could be a way out in 2 years. But the question becomes, not only that, he's getting the base of 18 million, 3.5 signing, and then 11.5 the roster bonus and all of that.
If you're talking about the teams that are left that are needing a quarterback, Kyler would be the best of all the options. But the thing is, remember the West, San Fran's they're basically rehauling. They have a lot of tough decisions to make on their roster.
Yeah.
And then you have the same thing going on with not just San Fran but Seattle. They just traded Geno. And I know they got Sam, but we're gonna find out what they are. And then you have I believe it's the Rams, but I remember Seattle or Arizona playing them very tough. So that's why it's like this. If I'm Arizona, I keep Kyler. You have the team, but like you said, if you're giving me a really good package, maybe I could look at getting someone. Maybe hey, Tennessee calls me, or if the Browns call me, I kind of laugh at first because I'm going, damn, how much money do you really have? Because but yeah, I would be like, it's like this. You never say no to a deal you don't know about.
Yeah. I agree with your outlook on the division, but this is what I say about San Francisco.
Yeah, go ahead.
San Francisco, I feel they have a plan, but they don't have a plan. I think them moving on from Debo doesn't surprise me. I think, listen, a lot of their guys got paid in free agency, and it's like, if you're John Lynch, I think Brock Purdy is a part of the puzzle of how you have to solve. Because I don't think Brock is terrible, but it's like this. It's like when you pay a pitcher who's coming off like a Tommy John surgery.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh man, but up to that point pre-surgery, you're like, oh man, they're Cy Young, like they're good. And I use pitchers because they're the hot. It's similar to a quarterback. They both throw a ball, and they're both valuable assets to a team, especially for Brock Purdy. I want to see how the contract look. I want to see kind of from the perspective of his value, his market value. Because here's the thing. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's put up great numbers. And the question becomes, is he a product of the system? Which is fine. I'm not going to hold that against him. But when I look at the market value and I'm looking up his market value, he's due to be a free agent in 2026. And his market value right now, and this is just according to the fine folks at Spot Track, it's at $59.7 million a year.
Oh God!
4 years, 239 million ish. So it's 238, 966, 260.
Is he better than Josh Allen?
Here's the thing. I think the better question is, not that he's better than Josh Allen. When you look at the contracts, C-Dub, the question that we really should be asking is that when you compare it to guys like Is he better than Jordan Love? Is he
Yeah.
better than Dak? Is he better than Joe Burrow? Is he better than Trevor Lawrence? Because these
Oh,
are the comparable guys they give at Spot Track.
yeah.
I think the issue is this: you have to pay your quarterback. You can't circumvent that.
No,
The
I got
problem, the problem becomes for San Francisco is listen, they have 12 picks in this draft. Do not be shocked at all if they try to get a quarterback, maybe second, third roundish,
I think they will.
and kind of develop. Because listen, we got to remember, outside of the Cam Ward and the Shador, there's a second tier. There's a Jalen Milroe. There's the Quinn Ewers. Like, do you kind of go that route? Because we know Kyle Shanahan, for all of, we know he knows quarterbacks because he drafted Brock Purdy, so he knows how to develop a quarterback. It's just listen, that's just his market value now. We don't know what's going to be after this season.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, CW, you have to pay him,
Oh yeah.
and with 12 picks, I think I I don't want to use the word rebuild, but they got to bank on guys like, listen, you still got George Kittle, you still got your Juwan Jennings had a great season last season, and
Still
I
have
think
Ayuk
Ricky
comes back.
and IU exactly, and IU, and then you got Ricky Pearsall. So it's not terrible there. My biggest concern is their defense. That's the concern, and because the offense is, I feel like I trust Kyle with the offense. How's his defense going to look come next season? And they let go of a guy. They let go of Kyle Juszczyk, who was a very valuable fullback. So I'm just curious to see where they go in that direction as well.
Yeah. If I'm look, I say the 49ers. I know they are typically one of those that land on their feet kind of franchises, but there is a quarterback I'm wondering if it falls straight to them, would they go after him? And that's Jackson Dart. For some reason, I just think he would fit with Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just one of those things in my head. I go, I don't know about Quinn Ewers. He's too up and down for me.
Yeah, I don't like the consistency from Quinn.
Yeah,
It's there's a reason why Arch Manning came in game. There's a reason.
yeah,
I'm just gonna put that out there. Like, if you're, it's, I know he got hurt and all, but it's like, but he came out of the game very healthy, and they put him in, and they put Arch Manning in, and Arch Manning looked a little bit better, So I'm like,
yeah.
that's, and to your point about, I think either him or Milroe. I'm not gonna say Milroe gives me Trey Lance vibes. I'm not gonna say that, but what I will say is this: Jackson Dart makes sense because he was coached by Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, listen, I don't want to upset the University of Tennessee because they're already upset. Listen, he under if Lane Kiffin
Kyle and Lance.
Lane Kiffin rubs. I'll put it this way: Lane
Yeah.
Kiffin rubs people the wrong way, but he knows how to coach an offense. So, like, listen, if Jackson Dart works at Ole Miss, he did very well. It could translate to a team like San Francisco. Jalen Milroe's very interesting as well. It's a situation where they have 12 picks, so it's not like they're lacking at one position. But if they feel that they can get a Milroe or Jackson Dart kind of there round two, I wouldn't. Because listen, there'll be a couple of teams with the same mindset that, listen, Pittsburgh's one of them. Like, if we miss out on a quarterback in the first round, we got to get. So you might see more positioning and maneuvering in the second round. And I think San Francisco has 2 second-round picks. So they may go after a great defensive player and maybe sneak in a quarterback. Maybe, because defense is deep. So, excuse me.
Defense, O-line, all those guys, they're very deep in that. And
It's for San Francisco to have all those picks. It's not the worst thing in the world. So I get. We'll keep, if he does stick around for another segment. I want to transition. We'll talk about the NFL. I want to talk a little basketball because I have a lot of thoughts. I spent time. I prepared a fancy little chart. I don't know why it never shows up on camera because it's my big hands. Anyway, So yeah,
I
whatever.
saw a little bit of it, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
sometimes
there.
that sometimes we just have to remove our visual backgrounds just so we
Yeah,
can.
I'm not doing it. I like my background. No,
Yeah, me
just
too.
just know there's highlights and great stuff.
I will say
Eh,
this: watch out for the center position because Dave Andrews got released, and now Garrett Bradbury also released. And I know that some people, it's almost like the they're in, you know obviously the Falcons may be looking at those guys also. Look,
Mm-hmm.
if you can upgrade your center position, do it. Don't rely on Ryan Newton. I will say it like that. So
Yeah, no, yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah. And see, double sneaking and Falcon stuff sponsored by
no one.
no. But yeah, I want to talk a little college basketball here. It's that time of the year, and I guess I saw Michigan State. I think they played Oregon. I think it was Oregon. And listen, it's still weird to me. To me, like seeing it on the football field is weird, but on the bet, like Oregon's in the pack, it's a whole I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it. But I look at a team like Michigan State,
Hmm.
and I put it on Twitter. They look like a Final Four team to me.
Yeah.
And I'll go with some theories I have. So to me, there's two stats that kind of tell to tell the tape the other people feel and for most people, but the nerd in me likes listen. Your offensive and defensive efficiency. That's letting me know how when you're efficient, how successful you are. Because how successful are you offensively and defensively? That balance. So I picked out 7 teams that and listen, if your team's not mentioned, doesn't mean I think your team is terrible. Let me put that out there. So don't hit me up on Twitter at Letters underscore like, oh, you didn't mention my team on the show. I'm letting you in advance know that I did mention your team on the show. So if it happens, it happens. So
Deal with it.
and then of those 7 teams, there's 4 that meet the criterion, but I make a case for the 3 that kind of doesn't.
Okay.
And the first 2 teams that come to my mind are Duke and Florida. People say, here's the thing with Duke. Like, listen, you don't have to like Duke. Like, I get Duke is like I tell people this. Even though you may not have a stake in the game, I say who you like, Duke or UNC. People may go, well, I don't like Duke. And why? Duke for the longest time gave off Darth Vader vibes. They really did. Especially back in the day with Christian Laettner, they gave up those vibes.
Oh,
And then JJ Redick
oh,
came along.
oh.
And then now we got Cooper Flag, potential Naismith
Yeah, all right.
nominee. So it's like, so I understand when people say Duke, oh, boo. Like I get it, I get it. But Duke is in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. They're first in the nation as we're talking, in being offensive efficiency, and they're third in defensive efficiency. The job that John Shire has done there at Duke is absolutely phenomenal. And and the ACC is not a terrible basketball conference. It's it goes to show you in the world of NILs and all that jazz, to be that great, it goes to show you listen, we could argue about the one and done stuff on another show, but I look at Florida and people are like, oh well, the guy likes the Gators, like folks. When I tell you SEC basketball is pretty interesting, I'm like, it's not just Florida, like Alabama.
I mean,
Like
yeah.
Alabama's like, what? Yeah,
Hold on. SEC teams may have 14 teams in the field of 60, what,
yeah.
68? I mean,
They
whatever it is
they
now.
could
Yeah.
they could very well take up almost 10% of the bracket.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. It's like that's how good that's and it's like we could argue bubble teams all you want, but like, it's just like ACC. It's North Carolina. Like listen, SEC basketball, listen, if I had to put an SEC team on here, it had to be Florida. But Alabama can make the case. Kentucky, Auburn. Auburn concerns me a little. Maybe it's a Bruce Pearl thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're Bruce Pearl, if you're listening, come on the show and convince me otherwise.
Oh, he will.
Oh yeah, he will. I'll be mute the whole time. I'm like, I'm not talking over him. Nope. Nah, Bruce, we're not playing that game. Nah, we're not doing. Nice try, nice try. This press conference is over, and it's not even a press conference. Um,
I enjoy
you know,
talking.
Florida, Florida's eighth in the country in offensive efficiency, and they're 16th in defensive efficiency. You know, Todd Golden has that team very balanced, and I like that. And I'll go back to my Michigan State point, but look at St. John's. Like St. John's is 107th in offensive efficiency. You know where they are in defensive efficiency? They're number 2 in the country. It's like
Rick Pitino,
the
the Godfather.
exactly, and it's like this. It's like think of an NFL team who is cheeks at offense, but boy could they stop you. Like I hate to use this analogy, but they remind me of that Ravens team that was so cheeks on offense, but they were so great on defense.
Oh, the Trent Dilfer team. I remember them.
Yeah, and listen, and so let's keep that in mind. So, and then we got Carrie here. Carrie says, "Hi, y'all. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great show." Carrie, if you want to come on the show, just let me know. If you want to come on, I didn't put the link.
If you like,
What happened?
if you like, I can send her the link.
Oh, if you want to come on, I'll have my. I'm not going to say seat up the coach. It feels weird being in the big chair. I'm always in a big chair, no matter where I'm at. But
Okay,
it's always
enjoy the power. Say that I'm the co-star. It's fine.
no. I will not do that. No, I will not do that. No, no, I will not
You
do
have
that.
been summoned by the star.
No, I'm not Joe Testator. I'm not. I'm not doing that.
You've been summoned by the tests.
Who the? Oh, Testator. Oh crap! I'll be there in 5 minutes. Oh, crap! He's 10 minutes away. No. Where's my horse? A horse.
Oh man, you're giving out some good teams already. I'm trying to think of some myself. So
And so I'll give up my list. Our list can be the same. It's fine.
yeah,
And oh, look at that. Would you look at that? And we have another person coming on the show. Somebody who keeps us in line. Even on my show, she keeps everybody else in line.
yeah.
It is the amazing, the wonderful Big Penix Energy herself, Carrie.
Miss Carrie,
Hi, Ladarius. Hi, C Double. How you doing?
we missed you yesterday, but
I
yeah,
know.
let's volunteer work herself.
Yeah, listen, someone's got to do it.
Hey man, no problem. I used to be caught up in those myself, so I understand.
Listen, as someone who used to, I used to do that volunteer. I used to go to, in fact, University Park. I don't know if Carrie knows the name, but I used to go to that elementary school, and I went back as a volunteer reading. So it felt I was bigger than all the kids, obviously. But I didn't know kids were that short nowadays. I didn't know that.
Oh.
I feel like hovering. I'm like, oh my god, here he comes with the books. I'm like, I'm not here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you with the comprehension. Let's calm it down.
Not to lie. One time I walked. What was it? I was doing a volunteer thing, but I showed up and I had my world heavyweight title with me, but I had my cane and I had at the time it was after my back surgery, so I had my back brace and I had to use a cane to walk. But my daughter asked, "Hey, can you bring your title belt?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can." And my wife's like, "You're hurt." I'm like, "Yeah," but she asked. So I go in there, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you did you?" I was like, "See," they're like, "Did you? Are you really a champion?" I'm like, "Yeah." Just see what happened to the guy that I took it from. This is a flesh wound.
Oh.
Oh, Jesus.
My kid would never talk to my daughter ever again.
And that, folks, is you know what? You gave me an idea for the next wrestling show. I got it. I got it figured out because I have the belt too. Now the brain's going. Well, how are you, Carrie? How are you doing? Oh, she went back on mute though. And we'll be right back. Now,
yeah. Oh, back up. She may have. Hold on, I'm seeing a private chat.
Let me see. I think.
Yeah. She had a call.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah. Yeah. You see. Yeah. I see. Yeah. BRB. Yeah, I see the BRB. Yeah. Trying to run all the. Yeah. It's. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. Run all the. I've done it before. What the hell am I talking about? Anyway. Going back. Going back to my list. So I talked about Duke, Florida, Michigan. I didn't talk about Michigan State. I'm saving that. I talked about St. John's, Houston. I think Houston. I think listen, they know what it takes to cut down the nets. I think Kelvin Sampson. Listen, they're 22nd in the nation in offensive efficiency, but they lead the country in defense. And let me tell you something: these offenses in March, they just pick up. You're gonna be facing like these mid-major schools, potentially like these, so like who's probably the lower seeded, talking like maybe those double-digit seeds who are very good offensively in other conferences that probably some of us have never watched none of their games before, but they're great offensively. And Houston's defense is just absolutely fantastic. And I look at a low key. I look at Arizona. Now, people are like, what about Arizona? Listen, they're off, but I like their odds. Their odds to win it are very interesting. It's hard for me to ignore their odds. So to me, that's purely based on I like their odds. And last, I look at Maryland's good. I like their defense. They're eighth in defensive efficiency. I want to go back to Michigan State. They're 54th in offensive efficiency with 70th in defense. Like here's why I keep Michigan State and St. John's in the conversation. I love their coaching. Tom Izzo, listen, I still feel he doesn't get credit. When we talk about great coaches of all time, like Tom Izzo needs some love. And maybe I got the perfect person to come on to do all of that work, to give all the love. But here's the thing with Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo has made he has 8 Final Four appearances. And of course he and it's hard to believe that they cut down the nets, that a big team hasn't won a national championship since Michigan State back in 2000. And I believe with that, I forgot who was on that team.
I think it was the
Mateen Cleaves team. So, and then Patino has 7, but the NCAA said they're vacated. So that's not me saying they're vacated. That's the college folks saying. That's not me, Rick. Don't you got the wrong guy. Is what I'm saying. So I'll talk about the women's side later because I can go all in on the women's side because I cover it. I love it. But I'll go to UCW, then I'll go if Carrie wants to chime in even on this or back on the free agency stuff. But CW, I'm curious to get your thoughts on some teams you're looking at or that you really like.
Well, I mean, you brought up a lot of your teams that if you say out loud, does it sound right? And they do. Look, Duke, I think, depending on Cooper Flag, he did pick up the ankle injury. We'll find out more about it. He probably is not playing for the rest of the ACC tournament, but I'm pretty confident he'll be at the big tournament. And also for Polk, I want to say their defensive stopper, he's been out, and he actually suffered a really bad shoulder injury in the game too. So I'm hoping they can bind up and play because you don't really go too deep in the playoffs for some reason. But I'm looking, man. You got Patino with St. John's. It's like this: if you struggle on offense but you could play defense, it is tough to go deep in the playoffs. I will say that, especially when you go against a team that can. I mean, I think that's one reason why Houston has never won it yet. But they're a really good team. Calvin Sampson has those guys playing hard. I'm looking at Auburn. I'm actually looking over. Florida has a good, well-coached team. And, look, I think SEC, when you could say you have 14 teams in your division that can make the playoffs or make the bracket, you're done something right. Now, will we see it all like that? We don't know. We have to see what happens after this weekend. Um, I'm always intrigued and like you said, when we talk about all right, Michigan State winning against Oregon, I'm still trying to get used to that because those guys were in the Pac-10 and now we're seeing them in the big. So it does throw me off on tournaments wise. Like I was hearing the ACC rundown of the teams, and I heard, and California and Stanford will be playing each other. I'm going, oh yeah, they're in. Yeah, God, my bad.
Right. Yes,
SMU
right.
and then it's like you hear these names and you're going, oh, team that I'm not gonna look past this year. I did the past couple of years. UConn, they're the champs. We talking about coach. Look, we're talking about coaching. If we're talking about coaching, we gotta look at that coach too. Um, they may not be the favorite. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you got to watch out for them because they're kind of like that cockroach that you can't kill because they're always too fast. They're always moving through what they've become that. But that coach has, man, he has like a major chip on his shoulder, and honestly, it's refreshing as to watch in sports. So, like I said, I look at that. I'm not worried about Indiana. I don't think they're going to do anything. But man, I always like Tom Izzo. By the way, I always do. I just something about him. I always enjoy watching him coach. And to me, the Field of 64 is fun for the storylines. It's fun because you see the kids. To me, it still means what it means. They get those wins. Everyone celebrate. It means something to them. So man, March Madness can't come soon enough. I can't wait for next.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun. It's every Cinderella teams, the storylines. It's all fantastic. And is Carrie still here?
Yeah,
Yes,
Gary,
I'm here. I'm just learning from you guys because, to be honest, I don't know a lot about March Madness. We always do a bracket at my job, and I'm just literally picking with vibes. Like,
you know, I
I
had
just
one person flip a coin one time,
right.
and I'm like going, "You're gonna do that for all the games?"
I'm
And
like,
yeah, it's hilarious.
But if it's a double-headed or double-tailed coin, I mean, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not good. A
I
double-headed
remember.
nickel is not
Oh,
good.
sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Carrie. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say, I remember last year though, Bijan Robinson, he almost had a nearly perfect bracket for I don't know how long. Do you guys remember
Yeah,
that? He was
Yeah,
killing it with his bracket.
like
and I,
I don't think he picked Texas, so he knew like, listen, I love my school, but
I think the
Right.
team that did him in was UConn actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Okay.
It was the champs. So yeah, I think
so yeah. So even though we can do an Usher, take that and rewind it back, Carrie.
Okay, cool.
We were talking about NFL free agency. We were talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about teams that doing a great job. Teams that still need to make some moves. And so I guess I'll work the question backwards if I can remember. Um, so we were talking about how the quarterback situations are shaping out. Basically, essentially, the Giants and the Steelers are the ones in needs of quarterbacks. And we tossed around some names. Potentially, I tossed out Kyler Murray. C Dub tossed out potentially. He tossed out Brock Purdy. And we mentioned that Aaron Rodgers guy, and we mentioned Russell Wilson, and we
and
mentioned the what was that?
the snitch.
Yeah, he who
Oh,
shall
not
not
the
be named.
snitch. Oh,
He
I'm
who
so tired of saying that guy's name, I
listen
swear.
listen.
That's why we call
If
Oh,
him the snitch.
if
We
I
don't.
yeah.
Yeah,
if I have one rule in this show, we don't have to say his name. We're not going to
Okay,
do it.
that's cool. I love that. I love that rule, honestly.
Listen, we're not
say
going to say what's his name. Nope, 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 nope. Nice
Right.
try. He went to Michigan State, but we're not talking about him. No, no.
he's
So
something family members.
Kirk
Oh,
Cousins, yeah,
wow.
he's on the do not call list.
Yeah.
So Carrie, I'm curious to get your thoughts on teams that you're looking at. Free agency team moves that you like. Especially, I love talking about quarterbacks. So just quarterbacks and just kind of seeing how you feel they will land. Will there be some moves that you make to acquire quarterbacks? What teams should be a little bit more aggressive in getting quarterbacks? Just curious to get your thoughts overall, free agency quarterbacks and all that jazz.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know, just off the top of my head, the move I like, for as far as quarterbacks go is Geno Smith to the Raiders. I mean, they haven't had their quarterback for a while. I think Geno could be that for them right now, especially, reuniting with his former coach. I really like that move. I was kind of surprised by the move, but I do like it for them. Um, but as far as, quarterbacks go and who needs a quarterback, Unfortunately for us, because of the snitch, it's like my hopes of him getting moved keep dwindling down because openings keep diminishing. And it seems as if a lot of that kind of rides on what Aaron Rodgers decides to do, which really I don't love either because why is the league waiting around on a guy like Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. But I did read today that the Vikings are also interested in Aaron Rodgers and they're kind of just waiting for him to decide what he wants to do. I thought it was going to be JJ McCarthy's season, but I guess they're also in the hunt for Aaron Rodgers between them, the Steelers, and the Giants. So that's interesting. I don't know if you guys talked about that at all.
No, we didn't. And you know what? It would be all time hilarious if he did.
Oh God,
Be-
yes, we all know
because if he did, he completes the Brett Favre circle,
Right.
Yeah,
and it's like
but the sad part is he will still not get the success that Brett Favre did because remember
it,
he actually got the Jets to a winning season.
to be fair, no, there is no to be fair. No, you make it great. Listen, when the highlight of your career at the Jets is you coming out there running with the flag, and listen, I'm not hoping the guy got hurt. Listen, I'm not wishing that ill will on anyone.
No,
But like the season that he was healthy, like are we gonna? Oh, he had his 400 touchdown pass. Yeah, I'm sorry. What was the Jets record? Yeah, see that. To me, it's I don't know, but to kind of like to Carrie's point, listen, like I go, but we'll revert back. Like the Geno Smith signing makes sense because it's Pete Carroll, it's familiarity, and it lets me know that maybe the Vegas is like, okay, we like the quarterback we have, so we can kind of look in elsewhere. I think they signed was it Mostert or they signed another running back. I can't remember who.
I think it
Was it Mostert?
Yeah. So a
think it was
lot of
Raheem.
people are like, yeah, you're right. And so a lot of people are like, oh, maybe they're not going to go get that running back with their first pick now because I know that was kind of the prediction.
Yeah, and then I said that well since Zach Martin retired for the Cowboys, I'm like maybe they go offensive line. I still people saying, oh, they're still gonna get running back. It would listen. We criticize Jerry Jones a lot. Well, not on this podcast, but another thing. On here, we try to be civil as possible.
Got something bad to say about me.
Like just because we don't mention a certain quarterback's name, there's a reason. It's a policy. I make sure it's on the wall. If you do, then we gotta. I'm not saying pack your boxes, but But anyway, we know what the snitches and stitches. We all know how that goes. But the thing is this: if there was a team that I feel could get it, and I think CW mentioned, I think Pittsburgh could be a situation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past potentially Cincinnati, because even though they went and signed Samaje Perine and they got Chase, like they could be okay there. Like I'm looking at teams that have addressed the needs. I'm looking at like teams like mid first round. I think that's where John, if Genty goes anywhere, he's gonna go somewhere in the probably outside of the top 10, maybe in that mid round. And listen, drafting a running back, people could say, "Oh, all running backs do the same," and they absolutely do not all do the same thing. And listen, I go back to the Falcons, and I said this: why are we still upset about getting Bijan? And Bijan literally saved our season, literally twice from being worse than what it was. And then look at Jahmyr Gibbs at Detroit. I'm like they don't like some when you watch the tape. Not every running back, okay, they're east, west, north, north, south, whatever. But it's penultimately how you view them. Like, listen, as game changer and carry an offense, and those two certainly can. A healthy Genty could absolutely do that as well. But yeah, that's enough of me talking about running backs. Now, I'll save my women's thing for later. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
Yeah. This is why we don't have production meetings. Now,
hey, we're more productive in our non-productive meetings than some.
Yes, exactly. We counter.
I wanted to also mention it isn't breaking news, but nothing crazy, news as far as Falcons, but Avery Williams, former punt returner, special teams guy for Falcons is signing with the Eagles. So just wanted to mention that. So it was just announced.
Rich keep getting richer. I mean,
Our special teams are screwed. No, no,
I mean,
look,
no.
good for him. You know,
yeah,
he wasn't,
Yeah.
he wasn't, he wasn't terrible. He wasn't
It
terrible.
wasn't, yeah, just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, I don't know. And we just brought back Mike Ford and I'm so glad we brought back Hodge. I was a little nervous with that Pro Bowl type season he had last year. I was nervous we might not be able to bring him back, but I'm glad we did. So I think we'll be fine. But I just wanted to throw that out there. And I don't know if you also mentioned Rondell Moore has an interview with the Vikings as well. That was announced today too.
watch
So
where
I
he goes.
think he's coming back. Yeah.
I think he'll get signed somewhere else. What do you think about? All right, we know it's been really hard on our team this week. The free agency stuff, folks. How hard? Someone had to miss an appointment because they were so upset with what was going on with our team.
I can't believe I
And
did
this
that.
poor person had to now miss our show where we talked about it freely, but she wasn't able to because of volunteer work. But
Yeah.
Gary, there's a couple of centers out there for that we might want to look at, Badbury and Andrews. But what? How are you feeling about the Falcons' off season so far?
To be honest, it's nothing real flashy or exciting like we've had the last 2 years, but I guess that's kind of anticipated with all the money we spent or wasted on Kirk Cousins, however you want to call it. Oh, I forgot we're calling him not Kirk. We're not calling him by name. I apologize.
It's all good. Don't
That
worry.
guy,
Don't worry.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
um, but yeah, it's kind of anticipated, right? Because we don't have a lot of money, so I only anticipate a flashy move if we free up more cap, which we haven't done by restructuring. Guys that are expected to be with the team long term, like someone like Chris Lindstrom or AJ Terrell. We could extend them or restructure their contracts to free up space. Maybe cut on Yamada. I don't know if they're going to do that now that we have no other veteran presence on that interior of the D line. So that we could save like I think up to 9 million doing that. So yeah, right now we're really kind of broke, honestly. So we don't really have a lot of money to go make those flashy splash moves. So far it's been mostly special teams or depth moves. I do like that we've been able to keep our offensive line together outside of Drew Dahlman. So, I mean, that's pretty big for me, so I'm happy about that. Um, but yeah, I also did see that Drew Dahlman, he was asked about, what made Chicago a priority for him, and he said the culture I'm playing in, the people I'm playing next to, and the vision for the team as a whole. And I thought, okay, I would normally take this as a knock to the Falcons. Like what? You're saying that you don't like the Falcons culture or you don't like who you're playing next to? I mean, Chris Lindstrom, hello. Or the vision for the team as a whole. So I almost at first want to take that as a knock towards the Falcons, but then I'm like, you went to the Bears. I mean, not trying to knock the Bears at the same time. It's not like it's not like you just went to the Eagles who just won a Super Bowl. So what are you talking about? Just, I mean, you're talking a little too much. I mean, I feel like it was for the money, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. So,
Well, they can't just say they paid me a lot of money and
right.
that's why I took the job. Yeah, I'm with you. So my favorite thing is I don't know if you saw this, Gary, but I know you were on X, and I think you did. So the old routine. When you get to watch free agency, you get to gas up your new toys, the new free agents you get. And oh my God, San Francisco 49ers did not disappoint. They were proud of their offseason acquisition, Richie Grant. And I saw comments going, man, what were the Falcons thinking not putting Richie on the field, man? He is amazing.
Wow. I did not see that. That's
Oh,
funny.
yes. He had a highlight reel and everything. And I'm just going, Man, you found enough plays that he actually did okay in?
Sheesh. Okay.
Jesus.
Man, I guess I'm the only one
No, listen, I see what happens is when I go quiet, folks, I'm still here. And well, if you're Richie Grant and you're listening, I didn't say a word. Like,
Me
to be
either.
clear, I like
Man,
listen.
y'all throw me under that bus, hey?
Hey, listen, the wheels on the bus go. We know the rest of the song. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the Bay Area. It's all the rice-a-roni and all the trawlers you want to ride, my guy.
Yeah, you'll be on the bench for a while.
Ah, boy,
Mm.
gee,
Oh wow.
I didn't.
Sheesh.
Jeez. I guess since I'm in the hosting chair, I guess you have to be the petty one. That's not good. That's not
Hold on,
good.
this is what you'll see Richie Grant do. Yeah, good play, good play, good play. Whenever you need me, coach.
Well, folks, it's gonna be me and Carrie ending the show today because see I think someone's taking out his feet for some. It has it looks like a San Francisco area code. I don't know.
Oh
I don't know.
jeez.
I don't know. Kyle S. I don't know anybody by that name. Anyway.
They coming after me.
Oh, thank God we don't finish that. We
No.
never finish that sentence because we're all gonna get
Hold on. At least I won't get as much heat as the now infamous feud of the year, which is Micah Parsons and Dexter Lawrence. Now,
I did see that.
You know what? Here, you know what? Before we talk about the NBA, yeah, I'm going to share my 2 cents here. Here's the thing. You know what? I'm on the side of Dexter Lawrence. Listen, when he basically said, "Oh, Dallas is my home," but they're not. Where was the lie in what he said?
Right.
He didn't lie in what he. It's like it's not
Nope.
like he's saying like, "Oh, the team sucks." No, he didn't say the team was trash. He said, "Listen, we're not going to the Super Bowl." And then Micah Parsons, who, listen, Jerry hasn't paid yet, is basically standing up for the Dallas Cowboys, saying, "Oh yeah," and calling people a clown. And I'm like,
Yeah. Wow.
here's the thing, Micah. I think you're a phenomenal defensive player. I really do.
not a great
But
podcast.
like, listen, I'm not
But if
saying.
you want to come on the show, you can come.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to. And listen, will I be here? I don't know. I might have a guest host that day. Listen, I might have a guest host. Listen. Larry Brown's not here. He's on his contractually obligated vacation, and so wait, is he at the beach? No, I'm no. Listen, the show's doing great. I'm looking at it now. Oh wait, I'm here. Where you at? Oh, it's kind of loud. Yeah, I'm at the beach. Yeah, Micah's on there. Oh, I can't hear you. I gotta go. Click, click. So, but the thing is this. My takeaway from that is that Dexter basically gave the insight to what all people already knew. Dallas is not a Super Bowl team. They were at the end of the day. Look at your quarterback. You're paying a guy who health is now becoming an issue. Missing extended time again for another injury. You have you did it. You lost. You lost your best, arguably your best offensive lineman. You lost Zach Martin. You're going to a situation where you still got to pay Micah, and you can only restructure so many contracts. Like the only contract you can really restructure right now is either Dax or Lambs. Other than that, Dallas has not made any. I want to know what moves have Dallas made that makes you go, we're going to forget the playoff, forget the Super Bowl playoff. Like to me, they're lucky the Giants are the Giants. I'm gonna leave it like that. They're lucky the Giants have no idea who their quarterback is. They're the only team in the division who you couldn't say who their quarterback is going to be is next season. And even for Dallas, is Dak going to be a quarterback after next season? Because when you start paying quarterbacks and they don't perform, It eats up a lot of your money, your talent. Like that's why if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get it right, like I'm not trying to call out Trevor Lawrence, but when you give players the contracts, all of a sudden they just come back down to earth. But that's a whole side story. But like I said, Dexter Lawrence did not say anything wrong or out of pocket. He's like, it's like Micah, my guy. You could have 20 sacks in the season, your team is still going to probably be 6-11. Like, so what are we doing here? Or 7-10? Because you're not. Because Washington and Philly are just way above you, and your owner will not spend money. I think the Giants, and they're the worst team in the division, they spent more money than you. They said, you know what, we're not going to give. Remember when they said, we're not going to give Saquon that 3-year, $39 million? You know who they gave it to Darius Slayton. That's all you need to know. That's the Giants organization. We're not going to pay Saquon, but you know who gets that contract? Darius Slayton.
That's crazy, but true.
Oh,
and listen, the person who should have been hired, the GM, if you watch the heart, it should have been the GM's son because he basically said to keep Saquon. And I'm like,
I saw that video.
How does a kid, how does a Disney Channel kid, how did you
kid was on
your son's trying to keep your job by saying you need to keep Saquon, and all of a sudden you just let Saquon. We don't pay running backs, but we pay Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones is not with the team. Listen, I know people are Giants fans. They may be listening and or watching, but listen. Business decisions were made. And, I mean, if you're a football fan in the state of New York, my God. Here's the thing. When the best team in the whole we could argue the Nets are doing a little bit better than but you know what? I'm not going to get into that. I'm not trying to have New York people come after me. That's a whole different breed of people.
Already got enough on us, but
yeah, it's like, listen, Micah comes on.
Justin Fields got a job with the Jets. I think that's going to be actually one of the low key.
Yeah, and I've said on our morning show, I've said he's a viable. People are like, oh well, his time in Chicago. I'm not saying he's not at fault for the way he played. All I'm conjecturing is that, yeah, he had some fault, but there's a reason why the Bears had to sign essentially a whole new offensive line. So when we talked about, when you watch the tape, why is Justin Fields running for his life? The protection was terrible. Like, he couldn't read. For Pittsburgh, he didn't play that terrible. Before Tomlin yanked him for Russ, for Mr. Fantastic, whatever he calls himself.
Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, I think he was Mr. Really Limited. But the point is, like, we saw the tape, but I went up on a tangent, folks. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm back. Like, Jesus, it's like
you're fine.
It's but like when people have the nerve to tell me that, I guess what gets me is that with the whole when Michael Parsons says with the all-time straightest face, when he says that he calls DeMarcus Lawrence the clown, my guy.
Oh gosh,
Micah, you're gonna listen. Dallas is. If you are such a priority for this team, wouldn't you have an extension already? Your owner doesn't care about you the way that you care about him. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's how relationships get really confusing. Like, when you love here's the thing. When you love somebody more than they love you, that's never good. That's never good. That's a Lifetime movie. And then listen, I thought you loved me. So here's the thing. And then
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, listen. The only thing Bill Belichick is useful for in that relationship is that she can ask him about the 20th century. That's it. Hey, Bill, tell me about light bulbs. Oh, yeah, I can tell they were invented. I was right there with Edison down there in New Jersey. Yeah, see,
Sheesh, that's funny.
It's like, listen, love is love. But like, if the thing is, the only reason probably why she's still with him That early bird special. Listen, you saving some money. I'm just saying.
Look,
That
I
move
got the Golden Corral. They'll give me the senior discount, and I'm not even
right.
a senior.
Listen, that remember that $13 ticket? Oh wow, why is it $6.50? There you go. Put that money towards some popcorn. Listen, but before I have ARP and Micah Parsons already coming at me. Jesus Christ. Dude, why do this? Why do you do your podcast? Why you don't say these things on the morning show? Because I like the people I work with. That's why. See, on here, I can be like, oh, I'm going to stop doing the podcast for a while, and then I wait for it to go away. If I do in the morning show, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
I think about the people. I think about the people I work.
We have Ron on our show. Ron really takes a lot of bullets for us. So
yeah. So what I do on so Ron's the guy who does all of that, and I show up. Like I said, I show up. Like C Double shows up, Carrie shows up, I show up. I let them do their thing. I just sit there and go, oh yeah, I speak when spoken to. That's it. If I'm given 5 minutes to speak, I'll speak for 3, and save the other 2 for later. But I now that we're back on track.
So Carrie, what did you think of that? The whole Micah and Dexter.
Oh wait, I'm supposed to ask that question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. No, go ahead, C-Dub. No. Even on the
no.
other show, no, on my show, whatever. He takes my parking spot. Now he's taking over the
You
show.
stole your thunder.
Yeah,
Hold on,
and the lightning.
Shoot, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me get my talker car out of the parking spot. My bad.
You look, I didn't have it. Who's going that C doubles? Let it. If it was that other guy who's on our team, Falcons guy, I would have that car towed. Oh, yeah, the nerve, the ego on that guy. But anyway,
I was bringing pizza.
But C-Dub asked the question. So C-Dub asked a great question. What were your thoughts on the Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence? I guess you want to call it beef, because to me, listen, DeMarcus Lawrence didn't say anything out of pocket. He was right.
Oh.
The man was there. The man showed up to work, and the team was. This man had the Green Bay Packers destroyed them in the play, and they're probably the 3rd best team in the NFC North now.
No.
But anyway, your thoughts on the DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons situation? Let's see as C-Dub so graciously asked, which I appreciate.
No, I agree with you. I think I'm on DeMarco's side. Like, I don't understand why Mike is calling him a clown. I guess his point of view is that that's your former team, so you're kind of like talking crap about your former team, and it's kind of like a bad look in that way, I guess. Like that, I guess maybe that's why he's calling him a clown, because why are you talking crap about, a place that you worked with, you know what I mean? Like basically your former employer, where you maybe left off on good terms and with your friends and coworkers. So I don't know, it's like you're trashing somebody after you already leave. But at the same time, I get it, because I believe what he said is true. Like you mentioned, Ladarius, like, you are not winning a Super Bowl in Dallas. I'm sorry. Maybe Micah's delusional, like a lot of the Cowboys fans that think they're going to win the Super Bowl every year and they don't even win playoff games. I'm not really sure. But I have a quick solution, and that is for Micah to just leave Dallas too and come be an Atlanta Falcon. Just saying.
Man, that's not a bad. Will he take food stamps? I mean, if they'll take food stamps, I'm down. I think Ron will give some, and then I give like a 5-piece. Where'd everyone go?
Everyone with the stamps, though.
God, man, crickets. I don't even have a cricket button.
We need a cricket button.
Yeah, we do. Man. Y'all just gave me no sign.
That'll be hilarious, guys.
Oh no, I saw what you were like. Oh, I didn't know whether to react. I'll put it that way. I didn't know whether to react, but now, I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm with you guys. I agree. It's like this man played for 11 years. He was there for the team, and if anything, he just shined a light. Maybe Micah believed in his own hype. The podcast, always on Twitter. Dude, where's your focus line? And I think a vet of his ilk can do that. And not only that, Micah, you're not in his family. You're not, you're not being supplied by his paycheck. You make your money, he needs to make his. And besides, if they sign Micah to a deal, guess what happens? They have to cut guys like DeMarcus. So, what do you want him to do? Just say the Cowboys are the best, number one? Woohoo! No, come on, get over yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it like this. I'm just gonna put it like this. Michael Parsons, I understand what he's trying to do. That's not going to get you more money because your team may not have any money. Okay, it's like I read somewhere with UNLV when they hired Dan Mullen as their football coach, and they're like, "Oh, we may not have the money to pay him the next 2 seasons." I'm like, "Wait a minute." So you hired a guy, and you expect him to work for free? I mean, good luck with that. Is that what Jerry's banking on? Like, hey, if I don't pay Micah, would he still stay? Let's not give him a contract. Yeah, we'll see how that works out. And you see, yeah, may I don't know. But the moral of the story here: stop calling people clowns when Michael, low key, you could be the clown. Like, I know you're an all-pro linebacker; you can tackle the bejesus out of me, but does not change my stance. Does not change my stance because you come on the podcast, Carrie and C-Dub will be here. I'll be on vacation, and I'll just tell them, their sponsorship, like they'll know what to do. They'll be well prepared. I'll be in witness protection. So
I got your back, Ladarius.
Oh, you can find Ladarius at no, don't reveal my location. How do you not know how witness protection works? It's literally protecting me, the witness.
It's be like that commercial with Progressive. Oh, so it's really easy to do.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, let's shift a little bit from football.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about the women's basketball in just a minute to put a button on the show. But I want to talk about the NBA because I wanted to get this off my chest since it's here. Just we're kind of winding down the season. And oh, by the way, for Carrie says she has to leave. Is there anything else you want to say, Carrie, before you get out of here?
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on last minute. I really appreciate it. Sorry again I couldn't make it yesterday, but I'm happy I got to join you for a few minutes today. But yeah, I hope you have a great show and thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much. And you can find the amazing Carrie on social media, Twitter at Carrie Lynn XOX. Which
Yes,
not to be
thank
confused
you.
with Charlie XCX. So let's be clear. Not to be confused
Okay.
with the
Yeah, he's kind of
A
weird.
musician, yeah.
yeah. No,
No, don't confuse it with that. You can differentiate because I'm Big Penix Energy. I don't think he is.
yeah. Wait, he's big.
Thank
Oh
you.
man, this is a lawsuit I didn't see happening. But
Wait, no,
color
I
me
don't know if
intrigued.
he is. Oh God.
Actually,
I take it back.
I'm big Lamar energy. What does that mean? I don't know.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I should have said that,
I
but
got Big Johnson energy. You know what, Charlie? We're done here. That's name.
oh gosh.
We're done here. Let's.
I got that birdie energy.
I got that big Gino. Like no.
I got
Oh
that.
gosh.
I got that
As
big
long as you
Bryce.
don't
I got that BBE
Sorry.
big Bryce energy. I'm like, you know what? We're done here.
as long as you don't say Big Cousins or Kirk energy, I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't
If you have that type of energy, listen.
You're not coming to this picnic.
Yeah, exactly. Because you might bring raisins and potato salad. You're automatically out of here.
Yeah.
But once again, Carrie, thank you so much for coming on. And listen, don't be a stranger. Anytime I have a show, don't be a stranger. Always
you.
welcome to join. And we'll be doing shows next week.
Yes, sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you.
Bye, Carrie. You give her the applause, but I'm the guy hosting. Whatever. No. You know what you were doing. You took the parking spot. You're doing this. No, we're not doing that. We're not playing that game, pal. But that was the amazing Carrie. Follow her on social media. Big time Falcons fan. She knows her stuff. Absolutely amazing. She'll be on doing the morning show that you'll see me and C-Dub on. And so she's absolutely amazing. That's all. I more than I can say there. Now, before we get to the women's college basketball, I've been wanting to talk about the NBA. Get this off my chest.
Yeah.
Look, what I will say is that listen, if there was a season for the Cleveland Cavaliers to make the NBA Finals, this is the season to do it. I think the way that their season, I think the job that's being done by Kenny Atkinson, like that's Coach of the Year. You could argue Bickerstaff for Detroit as well as improved as Detroit is. But I'm looking at teams like Cleveland. I'm looking at teams like Boston. We've always had this conversation for almost a decade or so that the East was the weaker conference. But the East is stepping up a bit. And it doesn't feel off balance. Because here's the thing. It's not just the Cavs and it's not just the Celtics. You look at teams like the Knicks, they're not terrible. The Magic are doing okay. Like the Pistons, like I mentioned, they're doing, and that's great for basketball. When there's balanced conferences, like it's great for basketball. Like not mitigating the West. So it's just a matter like with the shifter there was Luka going to the Lakers, shifting the odds. And even though LeBron's out, I'm confident Luka may rest tonight. I think the way Austin Reeves play against the Bucks, I think you can start resting. You're at the point of the season where season's winding down. You can maybe rest your stars. I'm not saying it could be load management or for whatever reason, but I want to get into this MVP debate because I was inspired by Tanya Ray Fox, friend of the show. She's been on here. I got to get her some merch because she's been on here. She's probably one day I'll do the research. I'll just hire people to do the research to find the numbers. To see she's I guarantee you like top 3 guests I've had on the Sports of the World podcast. She's absolutely amazing, and she did this video talking about Nikola Jokic, and it had me to thinking. Like this year, it's between Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to me for MVP, and because there's a drop off kind of after that. So what I did is that I used the metric. So I used 2 different metrics. One metric I use is win shares, and win shares is basically it's the stat that says it tries to kind of split the credit up for team success for singular players. Essentially, it's like how much of the player's success, the team success goes to the individual, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes good sense.
And then one of my favorite stats is called VORP, and VORP is value over replacement player. Okay. And the best way I can explain VORP is that think of it this way: if a player, what's the best way? So you look at a player's impact over time. So over the time of the season, how much do they truly? It's an advanced metric. So basically, what would be the value of basically without that player? How valuable is the one being replaced?
Okay.
How value because it's the MVP award. So I think when you have the word value in it, so I think it's an important stat. Points and points are fine, but I like to look at advanced stats. So I went back and looked at the last 10 MVPs, and I used VORP and where they ranked at that season, and the win shares.
Okay.
And so we're going back from Curry back to back from the 2014-15 season all the way to Jokic from last season. And of those 10, 4 MVPs finished first in both categories. That was Steph's second MVP season in 2015 and 16, and Jokic's last 3 MVPs. The only 4 MVP winners to finish first in those categories. And I don't like using points are great. I don't like using points as a metric because not a lot, and that's not all players can score, but not everybody scores the same, if that makes any sense. So I don't like using points and stuff because oh well, this guy was like this. If I did solely win shares, James Harden absolutely killed it. He finished in the top 3 a lot of these MVP sites, including winning his MVP season Ironically, yeah, he finished first that year in win shares and second in VORP. So, and you kind of look at where we are this season. If the kind of not if the season ended today, but between Shai and Jokic in the VORP category, Jokic has a point lead. Jokic's at 8.5, Shai's at 7.5. It falls off after that.
Okay.
Win shares, it's close. Shai's at 14.4, Jokic's at 14.2. Now, people are like, well, Darius, why are you bringing up these stats? Because when we look at most valuable player, points, team success does matter, but VORP takes it to a level where how much of the team's success is on one person, it's on one individual. Yeah. And it's the nerdy thing to do. I might go back even further and examine more MVP seasons like this, because of those 10. Listen, everybody on the in this who won the last 10 MVPs, they finished no worse than fifth in either category. Like Westbrook's 2016-17 MVP season, he finished fifth in win shares. That's the top five. For Jokic, every single MVP season, he's finished number one in both categories. So when people bring up most valuable player, I could argue maybe the season that you whether it's Harden or Westbrook, that maybe LeBron could have won it. But I'm not going to go here nor there. What I'm saying is that imagine, and I tell people to think about this. If Jokic wins MVP again this season, C-Dub, that's 4 MVPs in 5 seasons. And then you got to bring up the conversation of where do we put Jokic in the all-time conversation? Because we're talking some of your all-time favorite players. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we're talking this man, 4 MVP. I could argue the year that Embiid won it back in 2020, the 2022, 2023, you could argue he could have won it that year.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the argument was legit. I think, to me, there was no wrong answer, but I kind of wanted Jokic to win. But sometimes you got to read the room. So, and look, I'm going to go here. NBA, the game's better, faster, more athletic. And who's the guy we just said is the MVP of the last 4 out of the 5 years? Jokic. Is he any of those? This guy is good. And I think you cannot deny what he brings to a team. Look, Shea, he does a lot for his team. And look, these guys are the top 2 of their teams. So it's not like you have to discredit one over the other. I just look at it as they have to both come in at their best. And who picks them up? Shea's got a good team that can pick them up. Look over at Denver. I think Jokic has to do a little more. That's just me. I've always felt that. Mm-hmm. They won a championship, so it's not like he's a fluke. I guess the question is, if Jokic wins another one, where do we rank Jokic? If he wins another championship.
Yeah. And that's an excellent question, because Jokic has one. Just has one championship. But if he starts getting 2, he has 2. Well, he'll have 2 if he wins. But here's the conversation. If he wins his 4th MVP, here would be the only, he would have more MVPs than Moses Malone, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird.
Yeah.
And he would tie Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron James.
See, right there. I mean, you got to give, look, a guy like that, you got to give his credit. You don't have to give him flowers. You just give him his credit. I mean, you put the work in. And obviously he's put the work in. Look at what he's done with the team. Look at the success they've had. And, I know it's like this. You know how this goes. There are a lot of analysts that don't want to talk about Jokic. They want to talk about Luka. They want to talk about LeBron. They want to talk about Jimmy or Steph. But sometimes you have to give credit to the guys that are actually doing the work. Um, and like I said, man, the numbers speak for themselves. Jokic is right there. If it's close, I give it to Jokic. That's the way I see it. And I mean, Shea's gonna, he's young, but it's not like he won't have an opportunity. This guy's really good too. So
Yeah. And the thing is, in the NBA, because I could argue LeBron could have maybe 1, 2 more MVPs. I could argue that.
yeah.
It feels like if you go look at the Nash back-to-back MVPs, which I might, if you folks want me to, I'll delve deeper into this because the nerd in me loves numbers. Because listen, people lie, numbers don't. If you use the right numbers, like people will throw random numbers, and people will say, here's the argument I always get with people: is that everyone's quick. And listen, you don't have to think LeBron's the GOAT, but stop throwing the fact that he has a losing record in the finals. Oh, well, Jordan never lost in the finals. Well, how did Jordan do before early in his career in the playoffs? Then we can have that conversation.
Well,
Because
I always say if you're, an all-time great, you're defined by your losses.
yeah,
All right? Because look, Jordan struggled against this Pistons.
yeah, I
They
mean,
beat him up.
yeah,
And he literally took an off season working out to fight better, to be
Yeah.
able to handle the beat.
yeah, that was the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what it's like this. You work to get better. That's what the greats do.
Yeah.
That's what the all-time greats do. And it feels like LeBron has 4. And I argue this, and I've always made this point. For LeBron, I've always said it, and I'll say it here again. We've compared LeBron to the wrong person. I say, you know who we should have been comparing LeBron to this whole time? I got some pushback. It's Magic Johnson.
Amen. That's the guy I've always said.
Because here's the
I've always
thing.
said that.
When you think at the last, we'll say 30 years, they're the two guys you look at and you just go, you can't teach what they can teach. They can play all 5 positions on the basketball court. In fact, Magic Johnson did in the NBA Finals when Kareem was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people look it up. I think when they played the Celtics, I think it was the 80 Finals, I believe.
He did. And
I believe it was his rookie season. And by the way, it was his rookie or second season. That Magic Johnson, he played center.
I want to say it's his rookie, but you're right.
And he won an NBA, because I know he won an NBA title as a rookie. And I tell people, well, what's your point? My point is this. I've always looked at both of them in the same regard. Think about this. Look at their size. They were both number 1 overall picks. And they went to two different franchises. LA was already a brand. LA was not doing so great. Okay, they were great in the 70s and they were kind of middling. Then they get some guy named Irving Magic Johnson from Michigan State. A lot of love for Michigan State today. Shout out to Izzo. But the point is, look how he turned around the Lakers franchise. When the Cavs drafted LeBron, the hometown kid was already labeled a star when most of us were probably playing video games. He was already labeled the next big thing in the NBA.
Yeah, he was the chosen one. Has it on his back. Yeah.
And comes in and says at some point he's going to carry the league. And when he started being more successful, he started carrying the league.
Yeah.
And he was given all of this. And the fact of the matter is that I've always compared those two guys. I never understood the LeBron and MJ comparison. I'm like, I say, if you want to compare MJ to somebody, I've always said compare him to Kobe. Or let Kobe be compared to MJ. Because it's not about positional. It's just about, I just look at LeBron and Magic and going, well, LeBron has 4, Magic has 5. Like, not only do they compare from the size, they're both number 1 overall picks, but just physical spec. I'm like, that's And I'm like, that's how we've been missed. Like, oh, we got to put the great. It's like, here's the thing: we don't compare Tom Brady to Jerry Rice.
No.
There's a reason we don't. It's not because they're not both great. It's just that one's a quarterback and one's compared to the position that they play, or there's no like. It's a whole and it goes back to this MVP conversation. When we start having a conversation about Jokic, but all-time centers, some of y'all may not like those conversations. Like
they won't.
Some of y'all, because listen, we got to start talking about Shaq. Like I'll read you the list. You know how many MVPs? I said, look, how many MVPs did Shaq win? How many MVPs? I tell people when Jokic is getting in that conversation, it's the people don't want to have that conversation because basically only people ahead of Jokic, Kareem, Bill, MJ, Wilt, LeBron, Larry, Magic, Moses. That's it. And if he wins a fourth one, he puts himself in another echelon. And now he overtakes Bird and Johnson. And now it's just Kareem, Bill, MJ, Wilt, LeBron, and Jokic. And here's the thing: what makes it more incredible? Listen, imagine winning the award 4 times in 5 seasons, and he's on that pace to do it.
Yeah,
it's like when people come to me with these conversations about, like, listen, basketball is the one sport where I don't have a favorite team in because I feel objective in. Not that I'm objective in the other sports, like in baseball or in the NFL. But basketball, it's about the numbers. I care about your numbers. I care about your production, and I care about your dominance. Because at the end of the day, how did you dominate your era? How great were you? Nikola Jokic is the guy people don't talk about. It's like, listen, when we talk about centers, oh, well, is he a center? This is the same conversation where people like, listen, oh, Tim Duncan is a power forward. He could play center, but he was primarily a power forward. He used to hit the bank shots off that glass like nobody's business. He was always a 4. He was never a 5 in terms of positioning.
Yep.
And I feel that I look at today's NBA and what the game asks of you to do. Like Jokic, seeing big men shoot the way he shoots. Like imagine this. Like big men, like no dude. Shaq dominated the paint, but Jokic as a big man has dominated the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like you have to put out you can't send a 5 out there to guard Jokic. You got to put out a 4, or potentially a 3. You just can't guard Jokic the way. And you can put Giannis in that and Giannis is a 2-time MVP. It's like, folks, when you look at success in the NBA, team success matters. But like I say, what Vorp does, Vorp takes that success and sees how much of it belongs to you. And for Jokic, if you take Jokic off the Nuggets, this team is a lottery team at best. So and there's no disrespect to Jamal Murray, but you take Jokic off this team, I ask you, what's the identity of the Denver Nuggets? Because I tell you right now, it's the same. I can make the same argument for the Thunder. It's like there's a reason, like as of right now, as we're speaking, Jokic has that 1 point lead over Shai in the VORP category. It's 0.2 off as a 0.2 lead over Jokic in the win shares. Now you can look at here's the ironic part, and I won't keep preaching on this, and I promise I'll transition. When it comes to offensive win shares, guess who's the leader? It's Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, guess who it is? It's Shai. All I'm telling you is look at those two numbers, how they go throughout the season. And I just read to you, every single MVP outside of one have finished at least except for 2. 80% of the last 10 MVPs have finished in the top 3. All of them have finished in the top 4 in these categories. But when you look at VORP, only one MVP finished outside the top 2, and that was Embiid. and only 2 of the 10 MVPs finished outside of the top 3 in win share, and that was Westbrook's MVP season and Embiid. Embiid's the outlier. Embiid, there's always an outlier. Not saying Embiid didn't deserve the award that year, but it goes to show you that Embiid was the outlier. So enough of me yapping about that. Before I put my button on the show, I want to talk about the women's side of the basketball here.
Okay.
And listen, as someone who writes, it's a writer editor for Beyond Women's Sports, and if anybody from Beyond Women's Sports is listening, hola, how are you? And listen, if there was a year, it's tough. Like, listen, I'll put it like, I'm a UConn women's basketball fan. I'm not a UConn men's basketball fan. Don't you dare pair me with Dan Hurley. No, don't you dare.
Sorry.
Like, no. Like, I did like UConn back in the day when Jim Calhoun was running things. Okay, I respected it. Dan Hurley, this guy wins back to back, and this guy wants a bigger, like, it's the ego. It's the ego. Like, give me Gino every day. But that's just my personal preference. If you didn't already know, I think it's the only team I don't have gear for. Ironically, I'm gonna make that change with March Madness, folks. Don't worry about it. I just gotta find the right size. Should I get a hoodie? All these. Don't worry about it, folks. That's for me to think about, not you. You hear me talk about other stuff. So here I just like with the men's, I have 7 teams. Yeah. And once again, the criterion for the women's is different because I couldn't find the offensive and defensive efficiency. So I went with the next best 2 stats that I feel important. It's field goal percentage and opposing field goal percentage. All because right. It's how great are you shooting from the field and how good are you at defense. So it kind of rubbed to me the same spectrum. And to me, listen, UConn's number 1. They're number 1 in the nation in field goal percentage as we're speaking, as a team, and they're 5th in opposing field goal percentage. As a fan, Paige Beckers is going to the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming WNBA draft. Is a big reason. I also make the case Sarah Strong is, AZ Fudd. You know, there's a lot of reasons why UConn is doing great. And so the next I'm looking at South Carolina with Dawn Staley. With Melissa Fawali, Chloe Kitson, what they're doing there. Listen, they're 17th in the field goal percentage, but they're 6th in opposing. So Dawn Staley preaching defense down there in Columbia there as well. And I'm going to talk about USC and Texas because they're the outliers here, but I'll talk about them and why I think they're great. A team I think is TCU. TCU's a team. Like, listen, Haley Van Leith, we know she went to Louisville, didn't work out there. She went to LSU, didn't work out there. She's been around. And the redemption arc, she goes to TCU. Conference, I believe she was the conference most valuable player there in that tournament. So absolutely fantastic. I think they're still in the Big 12. I don't think they move that much. So, and then Sedona Price, who I'll talk about later. Listen, Notre Dame, Niall Ivy's team, Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, listen, they're 5th in field goal percentage, 14th in opposing. I'm not worried about how they play in the ACC tournament. They understand. I trust the coaching. Like I said, I trust Niall Ivy. I trust Hannah Hidalgo. I trust Olivia. Listen, I trust the leadership. And UCLA. Like, shout out to Lauren Betts. Shout out to UCLA this season. Listen, 8th in field goal percentage, 4th in opposing field goal percentage. They're a sneaky team. And USC, they're 62nd in field goal percentage, but they're 15th in opposing. Listen, it's a player. It's Juju Watkins. She's 2nd in points per game. She's probably, you can make a case. Her pay, they're all Naismith. They're all for the best player in college, the best female college basketball player in the sport. I don't know why I lost my train of my speech there for a couple of seconds. It happens. I'm trying to get a lot of information out in a fast amount of time. But and Texas is just interesting with Vic Schaefer and that squad. They just feel like they're a team. And here's some players to look out for the tournament. Listen, I mentioned Juju Watkins. I mentioned Hannah Hidalgo, who's 4th in points per game at 24.2. Olivia Miles, She has 3 triple doubles. That's the most in women's college basketball. Like when it comes to March, we got to start looking at singular players who can carry, not say carry teams, but can make a difference. Having 2 great players on your team, to me, gives you a little bit of an advantage. And some a player doesn't get enough credit, but I'll shout out Audie Crooks from Iowa State. Listen, 7th and 23.2 points per game. Well, still young, I believe so the future is bright there. I mentioned Paige Becker's first in assist to turnover ratio at 3.9. Listen, I mentioned Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd. The factor for me for UConn is the bench. Can the bench pull the weight? Can help and contribute when possible? That's applicable to a lot of these teams I'm mentioning. But listen, you can put it for men's and women's. How your bench is very important. Well, I mentioned Lauren Betts. Lauren Betts is 7th in field goal percentage at 63.4%. And she's 5th in the nation in blocks. I mentioned Sedona Price from TCU, 3rd in total blocks at 99. And then a player named LSU. I don't know. Listen, I want people to say, oh, LSU is great. Listen, Kim Mulkey, does she make fashion statements? Yes, she does. She makes choices, as I like to say. She makes choices. Like, it's not a conventional. Some days she'll dress like a basketball hoop. Sometimes she'll dress like she's going to a concert right after the game. Like, she's going down. But I'm not going to take away the job she's done. Anissa, one of her best player is Anessa Morrow. And so when I look at Anessa Morrow, I wrote down the name because I could me a name. She has 27 double doubles, leads the nation. So here's the thing: 84.4% of her games she's had a double double. First in rebounds. Like, and I mentioned with South Carolina, like Chloe Kitts. It was, and then for LSU, not only Anissa Morrow, but Flau'jae Johnson. Like I'm mentioning, listen, I always say this: it's the Noah effect. When it comes to, you gotta have. I say about the NFL. I'll say about any sport, you need to have at least 2 good. You need to have 2 of everything that's great. Like Noah and the Ark. Listen, I'm not saying go build an ark, but if you go look at the most, listen, it makes a difference. In the NFL, you have to have a great quarterback, and you have to have a sound defense. It's the Noah, and then and the backup should be pretty good too, because injuries happen, especially in the long season, marathon, not a sprint. So like I said, probably next week because this time next week I believe the tournament will be underway. I think, but I might sneak on early next week and slip on and do a show. I don't know, and I'll do a bracket. I'll share I'll share the process. I'm not saying it's a great process, but it's a process nonetheless. I'm just saying, it's not like Subway who's boasted we have a meat cutter. You should have already had one. How the hell? I was like, how the hell are you cutting the meat before? It's like, was there a butcher back there? When they said, oh, we have a meat slicer. Did you guys see that commercial? I was like, oh, we have a meat slicer. I'm like, so how are you? Like when I go to Publix, I see the meat slicer. They're not promoting it because it's common sense. If I want an Italian, BMT, like they slice the pepperoni, they slice the salami, they slice the cheese. They have a meat and cheese. I'm like, don't get me started.
They don't look at you and go, would you like us to use our meat slicer?
Right. They're not asking you. It's like, and sometimes they already have it pre-cut with the slicer. Stop. It's like, here's the thing. I stopped eating at Subway with the whole tuna thing. I said, no, sorry. I'm sorry. People are like, oh, well, that's not true. No, I'd rather go to Publix and just get a can of tuna and make my own sandwich. All right. Boil my own eggs. I can make a tuna fish sandwich. But anyway, before we get out of here, I want to shout out my guy C-Dub for joining me here before I get to my big picture here. And which I share my commentary on something that I noticed. I know this is new to C-Dub. He hasn't been here this long on the show. So
hey man, I'm here for you.
he's always attentive and always on point.
Yeah, actually I was following you on the stuff you were talking about there. So good.
Now,
Look, I'm going to tell you, the women's, it's always fascinating to see who gets hot, the defenses, because it is more fundamental based when you watch them play
mhm,
than you do watching the guys. That's just the way it is.
right.
But it's getting very competitive, and I'm going to tell you, I like South Carolina. Something about them, their defensive toughness,
Yeah.
they're able to turn it on. They have the inside presence also. I was very impressed watching them. I was watching one of their games against I want to say it was Texas in the SEC tournament.
Mhm.
So really good to watch. Or no, Oklahoma, I want to say. But either way, I was very impressed with watching Dawn Staley and her team. So
Yeah. Like I said, there's no real wrong answers. And those
no,
7 teams to me, it's UConn, it's South Carolina. I mean, USC, UCLA, TCU feels like a Final Four potential sleeper team. And listen, when you have Gino and Don Staley, I'm good with that because with them, they always have to rebuild because they get so much talent.
mhm.
College, I'm telling you right now, it's harder to be a college coach, no matter the sport, but especially basketball, men's or women's, and I'd also make and in football as well because you always have because you're dealing with NIL, you're
Oh yeah,
dealing with, and then you're dealing with people, and yet the coaches who find that success, Gino has continued from that success. Don has found that success at South Carolina. That's like Tennessee, even. And being a UConn fan, I'm not supposed to like Tennessee because of the rivalry. But listen, I respect like what Pat Summitt did all those years. Absolutely, like it's she meant a lot to the game of college basketball. And let me tell you something: those UConn Tennessee rivalry games. Listen, that it always gave me the vibe of Yankees Red Sox. It's like, but also in that rivalry, look how much talent came out of it.
oh yeah.
Like
I mean,
I tell people, when you look at a rivalry, look how much talent comes out of it. Like that's how
yeah.
you know
Look
it's
at
good.
the teams that they both were hosting at times at their peaks with
Yeah,
their rivalry.
it's
They
it's,
had like some of the best of the best, and it was
it's
like
like if
amazing to watch.
because if I told you players like I mean to cut you up, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
If I told you that players like Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Rebecca Lobo, Brianna Stewart, Swin Cash, of course now we got Paige Beckers, all time great. Everybody, Shamika Hold going to Tennessee, Shamika Holdsclaw, Candace Parker, Kara Lawson. It's like and look at the WNBA. It's either UConn or Tennessee. It feels like
Nothing wrong with it
that's
too. They're really good. They have
it's
their
like and now you're seeing that with South Carolina with the Leah Boston, Asia Wilson, arguably the best player in the WNBA. And don't at me about that Caitlin Clark stuff. We're not good. We're not doing that because will Caitlin Clark get there? Absolutely, folks. I always put that disclaimer because there's always one person who just started watching women's basketball. This Caitlin Clark. Oh, well, Caitlin Clark is better than like you don't know ball. Just tell me you don't know. It's like it reminds me of the episode of Abbott Elementary, and I'll talk to my sister about it. And then when the teacher came in, it was a substitute and was talking about oldies, and then the one kid talked about a Millie from Little Wayne.
oh
It
my god.
was talking about Nicki Minaj, and I'm like, if you're that sort of what you think, like if you're that young, you're welcome to have an opinion, but I'm not. Caitlin Clark will get there. I've been watching women. I've been watching the WNBA for at least 20 years.
Mhm.
I think Caitlin Clark is the future of this league, and she's being promoted as such. But even Caitlin Clark will tell you that there were OGs that came before her, like the Lisa Leslies of the world,
Yeah.
the Cheryl Swoops of the world, the Rebecca Lobos, like the Sue Birds, the Diana Taurasi, who just retired, who had a retirement press conference. It's like so y'all stop putting. If I tell you Asia Wilson's the best player in the WNBA, look up her numbers. Like if you don't believe me, you believe Google because you can. Fun fact, folks, you can Google other stuff. Listen, I'm not going to tell you what you'd be Googling in your search history, but you can also Google other things. So just a PSA. PSA. That's all I give. That's all I'm giving.
And
And
stop googling Kirk Cousins' address.
Folks, those comments were C-Dubs and C-Dubs. Those, you trying to think about what he said about Cousins? What? I didn't hear what he said. Sorry. But you know, he said, I don't know what you guys talking about.
No. What are you talking
But
about? He didn't say nothing.
But before we get out of here, first of all, thank you guys for the people. A couple of you, you'll just carry April in the chat. A lot of you are a lot of you are watching. You just wanted to hear me talk and not comment, and I get it. As long as you drop the like on the video on YouTube and do all that jazz, I appreciate it. Now, before we get out of here, I just have I want to say this because it really upset me. And when I do a Browns big picture, I try to find something that I want to bring attention to, and something that really got to me. And it's something that I feel needs to be addressed. Is how we have conversations. Is that people should not be, how can I phrase it? Understand on social media, people, when one of the great wrestling people out there, Wheezy Blonde, absolutely amazing stuff and the content she generates. She deleted her or deactivated her Twitter because a lot of folks don't know how to talk to people. And this is what I always tell people. And this is I'm not going to make super long because you guys have been so amazing sticking with me for almost 2 hours. So I'm going to end really quickly and say this. We can have conversations about no matter what in this country. It's not my job to make you. The one goal of this podcast that I had when I started it back in May 2019 was I want to have conversations. I want to have people on. We can have, it may feel like an interview, but it's really a conversation. Because I don't claim to know everything. And neither should you. We only learn when we close our mouth and open the ears. And I say that to say this. Wheezy Blonde has been absolutely fantastic. I've seen a lot of people just, and it's not just her, but a lot of people have left, not say left, but have deactivated because some of you folks, I'm not saying all of you are listening, you all are probably great. But some folks, you don't know how to talk to people. I've had people talk to me any kind of way, and I said, what we're not going to do is that. Because there's two ways to handle a situation. Either you embrace it. If I have the time, you're going to get it. Or if not, you just get the block button. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to, if you see something you disagree with, you're wasting energy trying to convince somebody of your point. Or listen, if I see a post I disagree, yeah, I'll say something, but I'm not going to go in the back and I'll just express my opinion and I keep it moving. Now, if they choose to interact with me, cool. But when people ignore you, there's a reason. And I tell this story really quickly because C-Dub knows the story. So WWE Raw on Netflix, when it comes out, WWE puts out a question, what were your favorite moments from the show? So I put the match with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, who ironically fought in the main event. But anyway,
Hey,
I said, listen, folks, I bring things full circle around here. I don't know how I get there sometimes. I put the car in drive and I just figure out where I'm going. And so I put that was my favorite match, and I put that, Punk, when Raw Netflix went off the air. I had multiple people tell me, oh, the question asked whether it was on the show. I'm like, are we really doing this? I'm like, this is why you guys are alone. Because here's the thing. And then so somebody took it a step further and basically called me a CM Punk mark. And you know what? I was more offended by that because anybody who knows me, anybody from the multiple times I've talked about wrestling on this show or on the wrestling show I do with C-Dub, knows the answer is Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind when he said, oh, just because I agree, just because I say CM Punk twice in a sentence, that makes me a mark? You don't know what a mark is. You just people like saying words and they don't know what they mean. And they have no idea what they mean. And the only reason, and then when I started engaging with them, he still going, oh, you're a mark. You're a mark. I'm like, here's the thing. And I told him, I'm a Seth Rollins guy. And then all of a sudden he get quiet and he told me to shoo off. And I blocked him. So he's permanently shooed off. Because here's the thing. I'm not gonna, listen, learn how to talk to people. There's a reason why people don't interact with other people on social media. It's not because they don't want to. It's because some of y'all don't know how to talk to. Not talking, once again, not talking about you guys. Some of y'all don't know how to talk to people. It's a fundamental thing about conversation. Some of y'all run people off of social media because y'all say that they're this, thus, and so. At the end of the day, and I'm going to wrap it up on this. If you can't understand that just because people post something does not the same right that they have to post something, and you have the right to comment, but when people come back at you with it, don't be upset. And I'm telling you right now, learn how to talk to people. Because what Weezy, listen, entertaining. That's what she does. That's what a lot of us do. Me and C-Dub, we're content creators. We try to bring entertaining stuff. If you don't like it, I'm not going to lose a night's sleep over it unless I feel there's something wrong with it. Mm-hmm. I said, but if you have something to say about it, address it, but don't push it to the point where you make it personal. Because then that's when you and whoever does it, we're going to have a conversation ourselves. And just like that, that Kevin Owens, it's going to be that match ain't going to be sanctioned because you're not going to like the things that I tell you. So learn how to talk to people, folks. Learn how to have a conversation and be adults. Learn how to listen. Because I'll tell you right now, here's how I'm going to really end it. If you think it's that serious, it's not really that serious. Think about that. So, folks, listen, and subscribe to this episode and every episode of the Sports and the World podcast. You can catch previous episodes on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can catch me on social media at Ladarius_Brown on Twitter and TikTok. And I don't promote the YouTube channel, which that's my fault. It's at Ladarius B, or just type in my name; it should show up. Give me a subscribe, follow there if you like there as well. I do more stuff is there. I do a morning show with this guy over here to my right, and we do a wrestling show. I think it comes on we do it Wednesdays now, right?
Yeah, Wednesday at 5:30.
Yeah, because I've asked him because he runs that. Here I run this, and then everybody else, this is what this is the one time where I'm like I'm running, and listen, and you see how it went great. Micah Parsons, it went great. Great. Post production. Listen. So
production meeting as
we're gonna have more production meetings in the future. Wait, why are you late to your own production meeting? Listen, don't ask questions. Listen, if they would have listen, I wanted a Diet Dr. Pepper this time. I had to settle for regular. I like to change things up, and now I feel betrayed. But anyway, folks. Before we get out of here, let's C-Dub promote your stuff and where we can find you and all the things that you do.
C28 is on YouTube. Definitely want to hit the like.
And that's our show. Good night. No, I'm just joking.
Go ahead. WTN. I'm on X a lot, and I'll retweet a whole bunch of stuff if it gets if it's thought provoking and I really like it. Want to pick back up on what you said. Look, we do stuff to kind of keep things going, keep sane, but also there's a good way to do it, and if we disagree, it's not like we're going to hate each other for it. We'll go at it, we'll talk. If we get heated, it's just the way we are, but it's not like it's going to ever get personal. So, I mean, please, look, if you're that freaking upset about whatever topic things are, and believe me, wrestling could get that way, sports gets that way. It is what it is. My thing is just be just pull back, take a breather, and then you get back in. But don't take it so damn personal. But yeah, find me on those two things. We do the wrestling show on Wednesday. We discuss Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I mean, SmackDown technically is happening right now because it's in Barcelona. But we're going to watch it at 8 o'clock because that's what USA is doing. But on Monday, we're going to get a special live edition of it at 3 o'clock. So that'll be interesting. I can't wait to actually watch it live. Kind of some interesting things happening. I kind of want to actually figure out, okay, what has happened on SmackDown. So without further ado, I guess I could say, and then on Thursday we talk about football, and we'll probably be diving a little more into the field of 64 because it's bracket season. So maybe we start looking at our teams like brackets and see how we are gonna who's gonna be the surprising team. And when you have a surprising team, who's the team that'll let you down? So let's have fun and enjoy it. And man, Ladarius, thanks so much. Hey, leave a comment, and subscribe to this man's channel. He's putting out really good content, and much appreciated, brother.
I'm not going to cry on my show. That was the third rule. Be on time and stay focused, and then not cry. But thank you, Cito, for those words. And folks, until you see and or hear me again next time, be real, be you, be blessed, and be safe from all of us here from the Sports and the World Podcast.